Hi class, welcome to a mini lecture on marriage. I'd like to introduce you to my husband, Mark Anderson, also an instructor at TCC. He's a professor of philosophy. I thought I would bring him in as an expert on marriage and ask him what makes for a successful marriage, Mark.
Well, a couple of things. One is that you really have to have a genuine interest in the welfare of your spouse. That should always be a top of mind goal. You should always be interested in on making sure that your spouse is happy. And the other is that you need to be good at conflict resolution. You will face conflicts. That's an inevitable part of life together. And when you find yourself in conflicts, one of the things you have to do is make sure that your goal is not to win. The goal is to get it right, and to be able to accommodate the perspective of your spouse. If you don't do that, things get pretty nasty pretty quickly. So those are a couple of things to keep in mind.
Well, I would say I'm a lucky woman, huh? Okay, thanks,
All
Mark. Okay, so yeah, that's I think he's so right in both of those aspects. And actually, that conflict resolution thing is something that he taught me very early in our marriage. He's very good at listening to what I say and repeating it back to me so that I know that I've been heard, and keeping everything calm and steady. And let's just work toward making this right for both of us. So actually, this that foreshadows a little bit of what we'll hear about from our second love guru from chapter 11, Dr. John Gottman, who says that couples should pass their problem back and forth as though they're passing a soccer ball. A metaphor that my husband would appreciate, as he's a soccer fan. So let's think about marriage. First of all, you know this from chapter 10 and our discussion of emerging adulthood, that the average age of marriage has risen considerably. We had statistics from 1950 to present. Here is 1970 to 2009, from 21 to 26 and 23 to 28 for men. Men tend to get older, get married at older ages. Now, this is going to start helping us think about divorce. If you get married young, okay, so currently the average age is 26 and 28. If you get married young at, say, the age of 20, wow, you are, if you're under the age of 20, you are 3 times more likely to divorce. You are 6 times more likely to divorce than people who get married in their 30s. So that's very interesting. What does that say? It says that maturity matters. This chart just shows how the average age of marriage has gone up across the years. Let's think about what I just asked Mark, what factors might make marriages more likely to succeed. Maturity. We saw that with the statistics about divorce. The younger you are, the more mature you are, the better your chances of making it last. I think this relates to what Mark was saying as well, truly caring about the other person's well-being and aiming for the right answer, not being right. Homogamy is a very interesting concept. You might find this useful for your adult interview papers as well. Homogamy means that you share your values and your interests. Okay, so homo means the same. Homogamy, you share values and interests. I'll use Mark and myself as an example. We share almost all the same values. We have the same political views, the same religious views. We see the world the same way. We have the same values when it comes to raising children. Very similar, although not exactly the same values when it comes to money. For example, we both prefer to live modestly. We're not rich. We're community college professors. But if we were, we would probably still live the way we do, in just sort of a normal house with normal cars, not brand new. Interests, we share some interests, but not all of them. He loves soccer and Dostoevsky. I love gardening and I don't know, things. I have an interest in things that are beautiful. I like museums and classical music and things like that. He and I both love to go to art museums together, although he likes the more traditional art and I like the modern art. So, some of that is different, but basically sharing the same values and interests. Exchange theory is another interesting one you might find useful for your paper. This is where each partner contributes equitably. Okay. Now, that does not necessarily mean that I do the dishes on Monday, he does them on Tuesday, I do them on Wednesday, he does them on Thursday. It means that each partner contributes something that the other person doesn't really want to do or isn't very good at. So the night that Mark proposed to me, we said we were going to have 2 kids and he was going to handle the money. I don't want to do the checkbook. I don't want to do taxes. I hate that stuff with a passion. It makes me cry. So I love to just hand this over to him, and I don't even have any idea how much we have in our bank account. On the other hand, he might cry if he has to go to the grocery store, especially if I ask him to get the things that I want to buy. I cook and he does dishes. We're pretty traditional that way. It doesn't have to be that way. But the point is, I do some things, he does some things, and it all works out, and we feel like it's equitable, not equal. And then finally, positive behaviors, being honest, committed, trusting each other, consulting one another, making decisions jointly. So as one example is some couples I know have some amount of money, but they have to consult the other person if they're going to spend that. So it might be $50 or $200. If you're going to spend more than $50, just check with me first. That's an example of that. Does marital happiness stay the same over time? When would you predict it would be greater, and when will it be lesser? So here's the chart. Typically, you're very happy at the start of your marriage, but at the birth of the first child, it starts to go down. Adolescence of the children, it's kind of at the bottom. Launching of children, it goes up, and then retirement from work, it goes up. So, okay, 2 things about this. First of all, clearly, children and work are stressing the relationship. When you're putting a lot of energy into the children and work, you're putting less energy into the relationship, and so your satisfaction with the marriage goes down. Now, at the same time, does that mean you should not work or have children? Let me tell you from experience, I've been married for almost 16 years, and it is absolutely worth it to do those things. There is a joy that is different from happiness. Happiness is like donuts and puppies and sunshine, and joy is a deeper satisfaction, a meaning in life. And so, sure, I'm personally at this stage, adolescence of children. I won't say that that's where my marital satisfaction is, but this is the stage of life I'm in. And no, we do not have as much time for each other as we did before we had kids, as we will once our children are gone from the home and we are not working anymore. But I don't want those of you who are in your 20s to look at this and be depressed, because there is joy in the midst of all of the stuff that's happening at this point. All right. One more thing I want to say about this, adolescence of children. It's not just about the children being adolescents, okay? It's about that entire life stage. So when your children are adolescents, they can be a little bit more difficult to manage. Emotions can run high. It's hard to let them go and let them experience all of the new things they need to experience. This is probably also peak career for most people. And so you're putting a ton of hours into work, and the children and the child raising is hard. You're just going 100 miles an hour, just less time for the marriage. And that's okay. Like I said, there's joy and meaning in all of those things that you're doing. Maintaining good conflict resolution, maintaining connection with one another can make it all worthwhile. Okay, that is our mini lecture on marriage. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.